Morning. My name is Shannon. This is 10 minutes of astrology. We're talking about Saturn in Gemini between the years of 2030 and 2032. So if you're interested, keep watching. This is a series that I've created because I have done Pluto for the next 20 years, Neptune, Uranus. Now we are on Saturn. And I'm doing this because I would like to have a memory bank of information that I and many others can refer back to as we move forward in this life. I do not want to talk about this time period because it reminds me of some family tragedy that happened years ago. So Saturn in Gemini, the last time that it happened was in 2001. And there were a lot of tragedies in 2001, not only for us globally, but personally. And I'm not going to say that it's going to repeat itself. What I am going to say is that we go from like this hype of newness and home and security and Saturn does deal with security. It's more financial security. It's how can we afford to retire? How secure is the home? Like everything that deals with keeping things in place and keeping things stable. In Gemini is out the window. I need coffee. Gemini doesn't know and I have about 15 minutes before work. That's why I'm doing this now. And I feel like I've been doing this in the mornings. Besides the point, I kind of am avoiding talking about this because it is just it's gonna be hard. And it's almost overnight. And then towards the end of this, I want to say it's like in July that this placement changes into Saturn moving into Cancer. Towards the end, Saturn is going to conjunct and then surpass Uranus, which will be like a fundamentally whole shifting moment that will either spiral people downwards or upwards. Gemini is the siblings in astrology. They're considered the twins. These twins are like first graders, and it's a lot of just mental busy energy. Geminis are some of the busiest, most overwhelmed people that I know. They either have nothing going on in their pretty little heads, or entirely too much of the universe is trapped in there and they have to have an outlet. So my advice for 2030 to 2032 is find a really healthy outlet. If that means you need to go back to school and you need to study, because Gemini does enjoy education. They approach it with a very childlike excitement. So find something really healthy to take your mind off of everything else that's going on. Gemini is also an air sign. It's the first air sign on the zodiac. Trouble, please quit scratching the couch, sweetie. When we have something that monumentous happening, and it's not even that it's like a big thing, Saturn going into Gemini. The issue is there's so many other active placements that people who are emotional, people who are grounded will be thrown off and thrown for a loop. Earth and or fire and air signs, not earth, fire and air signs usually weather their own storms better than anybody else ever could. And they'll make the storms. Gemini is about air. So on a global scale, it's either more air power, or there is going to be something happening with more wind farms. So like either a very windy time period during all of that, where a lot of homes are uprooted because of wind. Maybe like more tornadoes or twists or whatever is really windy. I foresee that being more at play during that period of time. Do I have this video is more of a warning than it is positives because I'm biased. I don't have a whole lot of positives for this because Saturn is not it's not home in Gemini. Saturn is home in Capricorn. Now Uranus will have a great time in Gemini because Uranus will be in Gemini at this time towards the end. And that's a good duo for being really creative, but with that creativity, Gemini is gonna bounce between, oh, I'm really into this project. Oh, look, this other project. Oh, look. And maybe nothing ever really getting finished because Gemini is so fleeting. And it's one of those signs you love to hate them because I know a Gemini who is the most evil person in the world. And then I also know a Gemini who could not be sweeter. They're Sour Patch Kids. That's Saturn in Gemini during 2030 to 2032. It's a Sour Patch Kid. It's gonna be really sweet for some and really good, and it's just gonna be bad for a lot of people. It's gonna be hard, and it's because of the other placements that are happening. Pluto's going to be in Aquarius. So it's so much mental stress, high intensity. Just, this time period, when we go from Saturn and Taurus to Gemini, it's like a light switch. It went from we're at home and we're semi-relaxed and comfortable to, I'm not going to say it's going to be famine, but it's not easy by any means. It's so mental, it's so stressful, it's so much energy, and it's not even like the craziest thing to ever have happened. Like, it's a normal cycle. It's not a good cycle. Thankfully, it only lasts for a couple of years, but then as soon as Saturn goes into Cancer, let's cry about it for the rest of our lives. Like, it's one of those, like, we almost caught a break. We almost had it. We were right there. And we lost it. And hopefully we only lose it for that period of time. I haven't really looked that much deeper into it past that. But it makes me very anxious because it's almost like we will have gone through this before, didn't learn the lesson, and now we're coming back to it as a society to try and learn it again. It's like we've already done this. Can we move on? And we just have to wait for the planets to move in order to move on. So that's my time. I'm about to go to work. I'm very irritated. It's first thing in the morning. My mornings absolutely revolve around my first hour. I'm coming up on the end of my first hour, and guess what? I'm irritated. So, thanks to Saturn going to be going into Gemini. I appreciate your watching, though. And if you have learned anything from this that is of value, press all the buttons, make all the comments. It does something, I believe, maybe. Stay tough, stay tuned. Peace out, fam. Love.